was Halloween when he was 3 years old, and he was dressed up as Woody, and his brother Zach was dressed up as Buzz, and Braden was having nothing to do with it. He was just crying and didn't want to go and didn't want to do anything. And we'd had some stuff like that before because he has asthma, and usually that meant that his lungs were having trouble. So we took him to the emergency room. They did a chest x-ray and saw a small gray shadow. And we stayed overnight. The next morning they said that they thought that was just an enlarged liver due to a virus. Gave us some medicine. We came home. I kept following up for 2 months because things were just not right. He was losing weight. He was not happy. He wasn't eating very well. And they kept saying those were just side effects of the medicine that he was taking. But it just didn't seem right. And then he had breathing problems. So I took him back into the emergency room on December 28th. And that's when they did another chest x-ray, and the mass was so large that it was pushing organs out of its way inside of his body. And at that point we knew it was something really serious. He had so much treatment, it was crazy. He went through about 1.5 years of treatments from the very first time that we entered the hospital. He did 6 rounds of high-dose chemotherapy, which has to be done in the hospital, and we pretty much lived there for a year. We rarely came home. For like a week we would come home and he would get sick and we'd have to go back in. But he did radiation, he had surgeries, and then he had some maintenance therapies, and then shortly after that was when we found out that he had relapsed. We actually had done a bunch of research. When Braden was initially diagnosed with his cancer, he was given a 30% chance for survival for over 5 years. And at that point, we started doing a lot of research about what to do for relapsing neuroblastoma and where the excellent centers in the United States were. Children's Mercy did not have a team that specialized in relapsing neuroblastoma. So since there was a 70% chance that he was going to relapse, we wanted to be ready if that happened. So we found CHOP just through our own research and had started talking to them, and they were the place that we chose to go. It was shortly after Braden relapsed with his cancer. His relapse happened in August, and at that point we were told that there was no known cure for his cancer and things looked really bad. And I found a lump in January of that same year. We were just getting ready to fly out to Philadelphia for an experimental treatment, and I found it on a Wednesday, went to my doctor on a Friday, and we were flying out on Sunday. So immediately when they felt the lump, we all knew something was wrong and that it was probably something that was cancerous. And we just said, you know, hang on to it till we get back from Philadelphia. When we get back, we'll deal with that and move forward from there. So it was just a few months after his diagnosis. Ironically, the autism is something that I'm grateful for. Braden has no idea that he has cancer, so he doesn't have to be scared. He doesn't worry about when he has to go to the hospital. He doesn't worry about, am I going to die? Am I going to live? He doesn't have to worry about any of that kind of stuff. And it's been a huge blessing, because that's really hard on these kids as they go through cancer treatments, is to think about, you know, I'm 8 years old and I could die, and he doesn't have to worry about that. So it has been a really big blessing for him.
Braden is, and I was just telling somebody else this, Braden is kind of like a light in our classroom that comes in every day. And he really is a reminder that there's more than just the small worries in life, and he reminds me every day to be thankful for what we have. He comes in every morning with a huge hello, Mrs. Dennison, and a huge hug and a smile. So it's just a great, he's just a bright and shining light in our classroom.
It has changed me in so many ways. I used to get so wrapped up and worried about details at work and details with this and that, and I used to worry about little things that really just don't matter, and it has given me so much perspective and so much gratitude for what we do have. I've learned to, instead of saying, oh my goodness, Braden has cancer and he's got to go through all of these treatments and I still have those days, but to then look at that and say, but we still have him right now, because he has so many friends that have died, and I have so many mommy friends that have lost their children. And I think, you know, I still have my little boy. I can still go snuggle him at night. I can still give him kisses. He can still tell me that he loves me. And that's a gift that we don't take lightly. And so it has really given me a vast appreciation for life and all the wonderful things around me. And I don't deal with all of the small stuff like I used to anymore. It doesn't get to me as much as it used to. So we started our foundation just a few months after my diagnosis with my cancer. As I sat in my diagnosis meeting, I was literally sitting with my jaw gaping open because they were telling me all these facts about my cancer. And in the 2 years that Braden had been fighting his cancer, we learned like this much because that's all of the information that's available out there. So I started researching to find out why there was such a difference, and I found out how overlooked and underfunded childhood cancer is. And then it's the #1 disease killer of children. And it receives so little funding that it's not even funny. Large organizations only donate like 3/4 of a penny of what they bring in for childhood cancer research. And that's not okay. I think my son's worth more than 3/4 of a penny. So that's why we started our foundation, and we actually have a whole bunch of events all year long to raise money to allow us to do research for these kids, or to fund research for these kids and to raise awareness for them. And we gave away $100,000 on the 1st of April to a doctor down at Texas Children's to conduct a research study to help find some targeted treatments. We're very much into targeted treatments. Chemotherapy attacks all of the cells in your body. Targeted treatments look specifically at, okay, on this cell, there's this receptor, and that's what's allowing the cancer to grow. And if you can shut that receptor down, then you stop the cancer from growing, and you only attack that one little cell and that one piece on that cell. So that's what we're looking at funding, and what we do fund is just targeted treatments to just attack the one receptor on the cell to knock them out. The bonus is that if we can find targeted treatments for childhood cancers, it's possible we can prevent them for adults. So for me, it's a lot smarter use of our dollars. Well, we have several things that we do. We have a walk that we do the first Saturday in June with the city of Olathe, and then we have a gala that we do in September. Ours is coming up on September 28th this year, and it's a big blowout gala. And then we also have some other little fundraisers, and we do calendars with our professional sports organizations in town. So we did a calendar with the Kansas City Royals with like George Brett and Eric Hosmer and Mike Moustakas and Alex Gordon, I mean, Billy Butler, all the big guys. And then we did one with Sporting KC again this year. This is our second year doing it with them. And so we have Jimmy Nielsen and Graham Zusi and Matt Beasler and Teal Bunbury, CJ Sapong. I mean, it's all the big guys there too. So it's absolutely a wonderful thing to do. And those just came out this past week. So they're pretty cool.